This is Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Here now, Tony Brueski.
Let me ask you something. When a teacher gets flagged for questionable behavior, who's supposed to stop them from jumping to the next school? The answer should be simple. But as we're learning in the wake of the Devil's Den case, it's not. Not even close. What you're about to hear is one of the most disturbing breakdowns in the public education system that no one wants to admit exists. A quiet crisis that keeps happening behind closed doors, labeled with one polite euphemism: passing the trash. In this episode, I sit down with retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer to pull back the curtain on how predators like Andrew McGann keep slipping through the cracks and into classrooms. And let's be very clear. This isn't about a one-time misjudgment or misunderstanding. We're talking about a guy with a pattern and districts that allegedly knew there were issues, yet let them resign quietly. No CPS involvement, no law enforcement report, no trail, just a glowing recommendation, a fresh start and a new set of kids in another town. Rinse, repeat. Now, some people want to stop the conversation right there and say, well, mandatory reporting exists. Problem solved, right? No, not even close. In theory, yes, mandatory reporting is a legal requirement, but in practice, if a district decides to handle things internally, and they often do, the complaint never leaves the building, which means no one at the next school knows what just got dropped on their lap. Coffindaffer and I don't just call this out, we dig deep into the why. Why schools stay silent, why administrators choose image over safety, and what it's going to take to force accountability. From classroom surveillance to hiring reform to the desperate state of teacher recruitment. We go there because this isn't a rare problem. This is a national one. And if you think this couldn't happen in your kid's school, you're already behind, because it probably already has. Let's get into it. Oh, we found districts that were not only passing the trash, but they were giving positive recommendations for people that had serious allegations posed against them and never investigated, not turned over to CPS, but investigated internally. And the term that I've been seeing thrown out around here really quickly when I've been bringing up these incidents as being a problem is, well, there's mandatory reporting. Problem solved. No, it's not solved. Mandatory reporting is true. It should be going on in theory. It doesn't always happen, especially if internally the district is going, well, this doesn't seem to raise to the level of a valid complaint or a valid issue. We've investigated it here, and it's not something that we feel we need to push any further. Not necessarily that they have the right to do that, but that is, in fact, how it works. It comes down to PR. Schools don't want to be known for having to fire predatory teachers. So when they realize they have one, they don't want fanfare, and I don't blame them. But the system should then stop those predators there in their tracks. Not, we're just going to keep brushing this around like the Catholic Church did forever with priests, because that really is reminiscent of what appears to be happening in our public school system in this country for the last many years. And there's been rumblings, but again, not much has been done.
Well, Tony, I understand why you don't want to ruin a young teacher's career. In other words, if just one person comes forward,
sure.
And, how do you make sure that allegation is true? And so I understand it is a bit of an issue. But with this situation, from everything I've read, all the interviews I've seen, this was pervasive. This wasn't just a one-off. This was multiple individuals. This was some really strange and out there information. And all I'm saying is a new district has the right to know those allegations are out there, to know that that district took action. In other words, they believe the allegations, and to at least be able to consider that and to interview. So I understand that, in other words, you can't be guilty without proven guilty.
Sure.
But boy, do you need to be able to be protected against these people.
Especially when there's a pattern of behavior that appears to be going on here. And I totally get that argument, because this, to me, is not a teacher problem. This is when these people are out there, and there's bad ones all over the place, but there's far more good ones than bad ones. It's these monsters that give all the good ones a bad name. It's not the teaching fault. It's the administration fault. It's the district fault. It's all of that for not wanting to have the bad PR and not supporting their staff in the way that they should be supported. Instead, I've heard many complaints from many teachers, especially in this area, as this has now come out of the woodwork, from so many that remain anonymous that have said, and not in this case specifically, but of other incidents throughout their careers. And I can't even say this district specifically or that district specifically, but over the years, in recent years, I should even say too, where complaints are drawn up even by teachers, and the administration's response is far too often, well, we'll look into it. And then nothing. Maybe the person just disappears then. They go off to another district. They are able to resign, but sometimes nothing happens whatsoever. How do we protect both the teachers and the students from some sort of predatory behavior? Cameras have been brought up. I don't know what the rules are for that. I know oftentimes they're in school hallways and such. But if we implemented something like that into every classroom, obviously don't put them in the bathrooms, but hey, teachers, maybe we get a bathroom specifically for teachers, so there's no transfer of teachers into kids' bathrooms. I don't know. That might be a way to protect both people. But anytime you're interacting with the students, you're doing it in a place where it is on camera. So if someone's going to make an accusation against you, let's go to the tape. And if someone, if there is no accusation or whatnot, you have to go and prove it, and we can see on tape. Obviously, it doesn't, there's always going to be loopholes. There's always going to be issues with sound and what do they say and this or that. But you keep everything more on the record. Is that just something that maybe we need to go to in our country because of the climate that we are now living in with these sort of folks? Where just, look, you got to document everything. And that includes any interactions with these kids, period, for your own safety and for their safety.
I definitely agree with that in the grade school setting.
Yes.
I think once you get into junior high and high school, that's a little bit of overkill. But these young kids are, so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And, the teachers have so much power over them. And it's an easy fix. One camera in that classroom, particularly with sound, so you can hear some of these interactions. It's kind of like when a police department started going with the body-worn camera. And believe me, police officers love that.
Yeah.
Because they were tired of getting false accusations against them. Oh, police brutality. Oh, they did this. Oh, they did a sexual advance. Now it's all right there.
If it's there, it's there. Yeah. Then it's, if you did it, it's on tape. I don't see why we couldn't do that here. And I disagree. I think you need it very strongly in the high schools as well, because kids get even more out of control there. I mean, I think you have more adult predatory behavior necessarily towards children and maybe an elementary level. You could also certainly have it in the high school level, but you have more extreme behavior from kids in their teens and high school. Having all that on tape, that protects the teachers as well. The teachers that are scared to death sometimes to go into their classrooms because the administration, because the districts don't want to deal with the problems, and they just keep putting the monstrous children back into the schoolroom that have all sorts of mental health issues that are not being dealt with, and they turn into violent maniacs. The same way, you could also catch a predatory teacher if he has a little bit too much of a affection for some of the teen girls. We see that all the time too, or vice versa. We see many female teachers going after male students as well. I just think across the board, K through 12, there's a camera on you. And it's for your own safety. And that's it. I don't know why. I don't think that that's a crazy, difficult thing that we could enact in every one of our classrooms in this country. It wouldn't be that expensive. I bet you could get major companies to support this and probably donate a lot of the cameras and the infrastructure for letting this happen. But then you get into privacy laws and rules, and it's going to get shut down by this group and that group. It's everybody claiming that their right to this or right to that outrights everybody else's rights, and that's where we end at the stalemate, and that's where we're at right now, where people just kind of get away with things because we can't prove things because of fear, and that's a sad place to be in.
Yeah, it's when you have situations like this, and we're seeing it, I mean, every week
Hmm.
I see a case where a student is assaulted sexually
Hmm.
by their teacher.
Yeah,
It's a weekly deal.
it
And by
is.
the way, women are becoming as prominent as men
They are.
that are doing it.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit the headlines. I try to put it on my Twitter or X, but it's out there. Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable.
Happened to
Um,
somebody in my neighborhood, a couple of houses down.
uh,
It's everywhere.
it's all around.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Cameras would help with that. But remember, typically they happen out of the classroom or
Sure.
often out of the classroom, right? They're lowered to the
That's true.
house or, the car or whatever. But nevertheless, you would still see the initial interaction. And I agree with
Yeah.
you, Tony. I think it needs to be at all levels, but
Yeah.
I'd like to see at least start, if it's a monetary issue, I think people would have less issues with the
Yeah.
younger kids. Start there. But I agree. How can it be a bad idea
It's
to have a
something.
camera in a courtroom or in a
Yeah.
classroom?
Or a body cam. A
No
body
doubt.
cam on every teacher. You're interacting with kids, that camera is on. Period.
Yep.
I
and
don't.
maybe that's
Yeah.
the route to go rather than the entire classroom susceptible, maybe just the interaction. I like that idea.
Because you're not going to have predators that are going to be caught on camera knowing that everything is being filmed. They're just going to leave the system. They're going to go be predators elsewhere, but it does get them out of our classrooms. And that makes for less easy prey and hopefully an environment where maybe they'll be caught a little easier, considering we can't seem to catch them when they're right under our own noses. But I don't know. There needs to be some reforms in this because this is really ridiculous, and the numbers are absolutely shocking. We're doing a 10-part series on it right now here on the podcast called Classroom Cover Up, and we're breaking down all of it. What exactly it means, passing the trash to breaking down many cases that have been horrible examples of this, good examples of it for understanding, but horrible stories that just seem to go on and on and on throughout our country with very little interest and very little done to ever prevent the problem once it's left the hands of certain districts. A lot of reform needs to be done here.
Tony, I just want to say that is why I love your podcast, Hidden Killers. This is why. You concentrate on things because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It's the attention needs to be drawn there. And I really appreciate you. I told you off camera the same thing. I was so glad to hear you were doing a series on this, because what's going to happen for many channels and the mainstream media is this is a flash in the pan.
It is, yeah.
And nobody talks about it after, and everybody just keeps going down the road. So I think the more you can bring attention to a pervasive problem that we have in our school systems. And also, I hope you address too, there's a huge problem with you can't find teachers now.
That's
There's
the
a
other
huge
part of this,
teacher
yeah.
shortage.
That's what I was wondering as well. Where are we so desperate for teachers that you're just kind of taking whatever you can get? It's a warm body that fills the classroom that we need filled by X date. I mean, that's what I wonder about with this guy. I mean, everyone who's interacted with him, I mean, you just look at the guy. He puts off a weird vibe. If I was the hiring person for any district and this guy comes in and he's applying for elementary education, I don't think I'd be picking him. I mean, unless there's absolutely no one to pick. And even then, I don't think I'd be picking him. I'd be like, let's do subs until we can get somebody else in here. I wonder how much of that is just simply out of desperation and needing to fill a quota of the amount of teachers we have to have by X date to get the funding that we need. And if we don't have that, we won't get the funding that we need. And if we report that we have problems, well, they're going to cut the funding back for that, rather increase the funding to fix those problems. The system is set up to destroy itself and protect itself rather than the children. And that's a problem. And more parents need to start speaking up about it. And they need to, and I'm not doing this for clicks. You got to share the video. You got to share this information. Just share the message for everything. I don't care if you share me, but we're spelling it out as clearly as we can for you. Here's the part that should really piss you off. This isn't just a system failure. It's a choice. Every district that lets a teacher walk away quietly instead of reporting them is actively choosing to gamble with someone else's children. And what makes it even worse? The fact that they can legally do it. They're not breaking the law by handling it internally. They're just breaking trust and breaking the system that's supposed to protect kids. What Jennifer laid out here isn't just hypothetical, it's happening right now. And it's not a glitch in the system. It is the system. Schools more concerned about their PR than their students. HR departments more focused on avoiding lawsuits than preventing predators. And the public largely unaware or numb from hearing another case week after week. Let's talk about accountability. Passing the trash is the term. But this isn't about garbage. It's about moving around people who allegedly harm kids. And the reason they keep getting away with it is because no one wants the liability of being the district that reports it. Because reporting opens you up to scrutiny. It invites questions. It may trigger lawsuits. So they don't. They just let it go. And the predator lands somewhere new. This is a part that should terrify all of us. McGann had no adult criminal record. He couldn't find a thing on paper. But talk about enough parents, enough former coworkers, and suddenly there's a pattern. Not enough for prosecution maybe, but sure as hell enough to keep someone out of a classroom. And yet, he was about to start again. This whole situation demands real change. Mandatory reporting needs teeth. Cross-state verification needs to be a thing. And yes, cameras in classrooms, or at the very least, body cams on staff maybe, need to be part of the conversation. Not because teachers are the problem, but because the system refuses to protect the good ones from the monsters who hide among them. We're not going to fix this overnight. But talking about it, demanding reform, calling it out, that's the start. So if this shook you, good. Share it. Talk about it. Because until more people start paying attention, this problem is going nowhere. And the next McGann, he's already out there. And he might be in your kid's school right now. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube if you've not done so already. Search Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts to take us with you on the go. And let us know your thoughts. And please press subscribe right now while you're thinking of it so you don't miss any of our coverage on this case and the many that we cover for you right here at the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today. I'm Tony Brueski. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Brueski and the Hidden Killers podcast.